Hey everyone, this is Marcia Reiner, host of Profit with a Plan podcast. And my guest today is Whitney Stowell. And he's here to talk about why you and why it's how you can stand out in a crowded room on today's Profit with a Plan podcast. Hey entrepreneurs, are you trying to make bigger profits in your small business? If you're like most of us business owners, increasing your profitability is always on your mind. And you're probably looking for ways to grow your revenue while growing your company. Well, you found a podcast that shares ideas to help you do just that. I'm Marcia Reiner, known as the Profit Booster and a business growth strategist. I've helped tons of small business owners to establish and implement a tangible plan that guarantees increased profitability and guides your growth and plans for your future exit. Because building a highly profitable and sale-ready business creates a win-win scenario. That's more money now and a windfall when it's time to let go. And I want to share strategies with you on today's Profit with a Plan podcast. But before we get started, I have a super powerful training called the 30-Day Profit Booster. And this is where I'll show you how you can get a 45% boost in net profits in just 30 days. Simply by following a 3-step method that doesn't require that you're chasing more customers. This quick and easy profit boosting strategy can be done without spending more money on marketing, hiring additional staff, or working longer hours. Go check it out at 30-Day Profit Booster for more information. All right. Well, I have my guest on today. I'm really excited to have Whitney Stowell with me. He's the CEO and founder of Cribworks, a sales and business development consulting firm based in Washington, D.C. And over the last 15 years, Whitney has positioned commercial corporations, startups, and nonprofits to grow, foster new relationships, and crush their overall sales goals. From bringing the whiteboard ideas to life to building more than $100 million of new business, Whitney has taken very structured business development approach to growth. Whitney has worked in marketing, business development, corporate strategy, and government affairs across a diverse range of small and large businesses. Whitney, welcome to Profit with a Plan podcast. I'm so excited to have you on today.
Hey, thank you, Marcia, and I'm really glad to be here today.
Excellent, excellent. So I thought this was going to be a really good topic because you have this kind of niche or lane that you play in that I think is really, really important that we're going to talk about. But before we do that, how in the world did you get involved with business growth? I mean, we all kind of have our history and some fall into it and some just come out of the gate at it. How did you get into business growth?
You know, that's a great question. So I started probably early in my career working for a defense contractor here, and we were going after large business, large opportunities. And my mentors at the time, they taught us actually how to look at opportunities in your pipeline that were small, we call them ankle biters, but also large opportunities that would actually help you really grow and be game changers for your business. And those aren't ones that will always find you. You actually have to go out and develop the business, develop the relationships, see where the markets are moving. And so I got very involved with those types of opportunities. So that was overall good for me to really understand and build relationships and how to really go deep with accounts as well. So that's where I ultimately started. And then when I moved to Phillips, the large healthcare conglomerate, we really had to learn about selling into multiple markets, from state and local to federal to large enterprise sales, but how we could really be able to build our overall business and not just focus on one lane and one revenue stream. So but we were able to build that over time and really be able to diversify how we were able to grow. And so that's really what I focused on and really enjoyed it, and started a side hustle as well and built that as well.
Love it. Love it. It's funny how we all come into business, and many of my guests come on and talk about their corporate history and how they evolved into, running their own thing after that. But it's funny, business owners do the same thing too, right? They started their business because they had some sort of experience that they thought they could improve by doing their own thing. And I always jokingly say the mistake was they wrapped a business around it,
Yeah,
not
that's a good way to
realizing.
look at it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting how we all kind of have that common thread that goes through. Very few people actually come out of the womb and say, I'm going to be a business owner. Started my, my lemonade stand, and off I went from there, So I like hearing everybody's journey as they come in.
Absolutely. And I ultimately eventually wanted to run my own business, but I also knew that I need to learn from the best in the business. I really understand that I believe we strive in structure, but I wanted to know what it's like to work with a very large business that operates in structure, that has a lot of metrics already in place, that operates, everything from Lean Six Sigma to, what are your quarterly and monthly goals, but also working with smaller companies that one individual will operate sales, business development, and operations. So you see a different type of individual, but also what they thrive on as well. And then the controlled chaos of a startup. What do you got to do to actually be able to keep the lights on at the end of the day? So it's a different type of environment, different type of drive, different type of customer, but how do you actually grow? So it was really good to get some of that experience underneath my belt before I went out and did my own thing.
Love it. Love it. And those are three very, very different markets. So thank you for sharing that. I always like to add a little personal touch as to, where listeners might connect a little bit more with you along the way. But I love the idea of our topic today. Our topic today is all about why you, right? And it's why the business owner, why their customers are going to choose you. And I think it's really funny. I think you had a social post that was out recently that mentioned the point that you're in a crowded room. Guess what, business owners? We're always in a crowded room. And so how do you differentiate yourself from the competition or the people in the room that are all saying the same thing? Oh, I help businesses grow. Okay, well, how do you do that, right? You got to separate yourself. So I love this topic of why us, and why choosing, you as the business of choice that they want to work with. So I'd love to kind of come in and figure out, we do this and you're very strategic. So let's talk about some of the strategies that we would use, and maybe, go down some different paths. But before that, how do we really differentiate ourselves from the competition when we're standing in a very crowded room?
Sure. And it's a tough question. I'll put it up front. It is a excuse me, it is a very tough question. And it takes a lot of looking inside to do it. And it's sometimes what people do not want to do. I'll admit, they just want to bring in business, bring in business, bring in business. I get it. But I think the number one thing is you got to look inside. And it is something that you need to write down and you can always continuously improve on. And I always ask, clients, potential clients, even ask friends. I go, well, why would anybody want to spend $100 with you? What makes you different? Whether you're trying to build lead generation, you're working on cybersecurity requirements, or you're in the construction business, doesn't matter what you're really in. Why would a potential customer want to buy from you? And because there's 100 of you, there's 1,000 of you.
There's a million of us.
There's a million of you. Right, exactly. Just here in the DC area, or if you go to another large metropolitan area, there's a ton of you, and the customer probably gets a phone call from multiple people of you all the time. How are you going to differentiate yourself? And
that's a great question.
Yeah, it's so like, build your differentiators, build what makes you different. You have relationships. And so those are just some
let's talk about some of those differentiators that actually stand up, because you got something that I want to come back to, but I think it's really important to talk about the differentiators. What are some of the things that we would consider differentiation? I know great customer service and 30 years in business is not a differentiator. It's almost a standard these days. So how do you choose what is a differentiator?
Sure. So a differentiator, in my opinion, it's going to be what the client really needs for whatever project they're going to be working on. So, for example, if they have a need and it's I need customer service, maybe it's a customer service need that they really for their upcoming project or whatever it might be, for you to describe to them, it's like, hey, we have a 24/7 customer support line with a real live person for you. This is what we have, but you're providing metrics behind it. You're providing, past performance to show to them that this is something that we have that stands above what somebody else might not already have. Like, oh, okay. But those metrics will really help you drive yourself comparable to everybody else. So I think that's one thing
Interesting.
the metrics and the past performance, I think, really start to separate yourself.
Okay. So then saying that, well, let's use your not that a lot of the listeners are startups, but let's use your startup idea. If you don't have past experiences that and metrics that you can lay out for the customer, how do they separate themselves unless they're, totally blue ocean kind of some brand new product? How do they differentiate themselves?
So it's one thing to look at is what is the value that you're going to be bringing to the customer. So I think it's really what is the value that you're going to be driving to them. And it's, say you're going to be selling a certain service or a certain product. Is it something that they really need at the moment, or do they want, which are obviously two different things. But, what are you going to give to them as a startup? One thing that you could look at is, if somebody calls you, you're going to be the one picking up. Unlike in a large business, you're not always going to get the key decision maker. You can be a lot more attentive, comparable to others. Your overhead's probably going to be a lot lower. Those are things that you can obviously show and prove to the customer on what makes you different, comparable to a large business. Yet your risk might be a little bit higher, but here's other ways that you can actually prove to the end customer that you're able to meet your timelines on time, in person. You got to be able to have metrics driven differentiators and data driven differentiators to actually really be able to get the customer's ear.
Okay, so then describe the difference between a metric differentiator and a data-driven differentiator.
Sure.
I think I know, but just so we give the audience
Okay.
that kind of
Yeah.
feeling.
So for example, let's take for metrics, you have backed metrics on items that you've improved on within a job, within a past project. So, hey, we reduce the overall let's say in an energy project, we reduce the overall utility load in this project from X down to Y. Here's what we've been able to reduce in a timeline. So we have the kind of here's how much money we saved you, and here's how we actually shrunk the timeline, and here's how we did it. Yeah. So so you have some metrics behind that.
Got it.
Actually able to show the customer, like, here's how we were able to save you money, and we did it, more effectively and more efficiently, and we did it on time. Got it. All right.
Okay.
Now I really have it. The data can also show you during a project with them, here are all the metric points or the data points that we uncovered for you, if you didn't have it already, but here's all the items that we were able to uncover for you. If it's say a hospital project, it's like, here's all the we're able to show all the wheelchairs that are actually exiting the hospital, and here's how many that are lost on a daily basis or on a monthly basis. Be able to show those data driven points as well. So
got it. So that having that skill set could separate you from just the flat out price, because if you're $100 and the other company's $100, it's basically the same thing. Do I know company A or do I know company B? What other items can you offer? And whether it's data points or metrics that you can offer the customer to prove that you are the better choice. And is that what is that the lane that you're going in with the metrics and the data?
Yes, and it is, but it's also, what does it matter to the customer? Does it actually matter to the customer who you're talking with? If it doesn't matter to them, then what does matter to the customer? Do you know the customer's hot buttons? What are they focused on with the project? So it's also for you to get to know what's on the customer's mind. If there's multiple decision makers within the customer, what does each one of them find interesting or need to accomplish within an overall project? So you can actually speak to each one of them to be able to get closer to the customer.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I think that's something that, when you get beyond the, oh, we're family owned business. We've been on this street corner since, 20 or 1980. And, we've had all these things that go on. Those are things that, as you just mentioned, really don't matter to the customer. The
No.
customer's looking at price, functionality, warranty, possibly, how long is this product going to last, or the service? Can you back it up by, the reputation of the company or the promise that you're making? And I love the way you put it in a way that it's all about what the customer needs. Right? It's not who cares about you?
Exactly.
In the differentiators, it's all about what they perceive is valuable, and how can you highlight that in a way that your customer goes, yeah, I like you over them, and therefore I'm going to spend my $100 with you instead of them. And I think that's what I think we're missing that in a lot of the communication that we put out on a regular basis, whether it's verbal or written or imagery, is how do we portray that? And I think that's really important. I think it's a missed gap.
It's a very big missed gap. I wouldn't say it's big as the Grand Canyon, but it's definitely,
it's gigantic.
It's big. It really is. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, it's crazy how many people miss that. And they sit there and look in the mirror and go, look how pretty I am, right?
Well, it's definitely true, because your differentiators are a very powerful part of your marketing, of your sales and business development, of your social selling, of when you're out in with potential customers, how you communicate with them, but also how you're training new staff. They want to know what to say. Be like, hey, this is what makes us different. And this is why people want to come talk to us, because when you have new employees or existing employees, they are an extension of you, regardless if they're on the clock or off the clock, because you never know what those. Point. Yeah, we never know when you could potentially bump into a lead. It could be at a happy hour. It could be on the park, and you're just having a conversation. And if they have those differentiators in their heads, I mean, they could pick them up very quickly if they know them, and they know them down cold. Yeah, especially if you're in professional associations and organizations, which I always highly recommend. You're going to be a group amongst your peers, and
crowded room.
Yeah, it's a very crowded room, but they're also going to know, like, hey, I might know something, but like, great, hey, this is how I can help you accomplish what you're trying to what you need.
Right.
Yeah, and
I was going to say, I think it goes a little deeper than that too, because, that's all forward facing, outward direction, consumer or customer communications and so on. But if you think about internally, because you mentioned this, the first part that I wanted to come back to, that you have to look inside, right? Mm-hmm. When you're looking inside at your business and you're able to initiate the values and the on-time delivery with the things that you say you're doing, right? Then it not only acts as a differentiator, but then it's also acts as a proof point, right? Because now you're able to deliver on what you said. because you've incorporated all those beliefs and values inside the business.
You're 100% correct. And that's why I always say it's the toughest thing for people to do is to look inside. And I said, it's going to take some time. It's uncomfortable. But sometimes the differentiators do not instantaneously happen. You got to think about why you, and it might not be when you're actually sitting down with a piece of paper and literally trying to write them down. It could be when you're cooking dinner, when you're watching a movie, but it's like, write those why you. Ask your current clients, hey, why did you choose me? What makes me the company that you want to work with? That's why past performances are so powerful. And they will tell you, and they'd be like, you're the one who actually picks up the phone and can help us solve like this problem. Wow, I never thought about it like that. I thought you picked us because of price. Like, no.
Right? Exactly. Your big ahas come out.
Yeah, that's what
and
your
the worst
ahas
thing
come
you
out.
can compete on is price. Because then
Exactly.
it's a race to a bottom. Because if you're $100 today and the guy down the street says he's 95, next week you got to be 90 to beat him. And so it's not the direction you want to be in at all.
No, not at all. But and all you have to do is ask your current clients, just say, hey, why us? And it's like they will, most of them, I guarantee you, will say, this is why we chose you. But they will, and if you've been working for a while, working with that company for a while, they'll tell you additional reasons why, and just write it down, because that becomes powerful marketing, branding, you name it, internal conversations to have. But then that can be a way to ask for referrals as well. So you're talking with one company, say, hey, we really appreciate, you've helped us save X amount of money on this project. You can ask them like, well, thank you. Appreciate you. Anybody else that we've helped you do X, Y, and Z? Who else can you help? Anybody else that might have this? Yes, by the way. And there's somebody else you can help refer. But getting down to those differentiators also helps that current client have that conversation with another company. Be like, hey, this company I've been working with helped us save 20%, year over year. They might be somebody of interest for you to work with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think happy customers are those that brag, and funny enough, customers don't always realize all the benefits that they're getting when they work with you. So having that conversation and having that forefront on the mind and on their mind, and helping them see, oh yeah, you did increase my my growth by 20% year over year. You did answer the phone every time I called. So even in that conversation with your past clients, you can reinforce what you'd like, your company to stand for when you're differentiating yourself out there.
Absolutely. And that sometimes extracting that from your employees is sometimes hard, because you have to ask your employee whether they're the account manager or they're on site with the customer, whoever it might be. It's like, hey, can you just, you got to ask. That's that initiative that you need to provide to your current teams. Like, hey, we need to get some information out of our customer, but it's for both your own benefit, but also the customer's benefit. You got to ask. That's the initiative I think everybody does need to take.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hiring right and getting the right people in the play that have the ability to ask and understand the goal of the company to move them forward. That's really great. So we've talked about several differentiators, the key metrics and the data points, and then the things that actually separate you from the customer's point of view on it. When we're trying to really set ourselves up for success as a business owner, when we're communicating our differentiator, and again, I'm trying to have the visual of you're in that crowded room, right? Are you wearing the red shirt when everybody's wearing the blue shirt, or are you, blending in with the blue shirt, right? And I'm wondering what's your best way to communicate that with the audience out there? Do you have any kind of formulas that you use when you're communicating that?
So I always want to know like where to start, so I understand where to start first and be able to communicate be able to communicate forward. So to be able to understand, I obviously first want to know what they believe their existing differentiators are first. Say, all right,
So you're talking to the business owner. You're not
correct.
necessarily talking to the consumer. You're talking to the business owner and say, where are you? Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
just so I'm on the right page.
yeah, yeah, yes, yes. Like, walk me through it. Why does anybody want to? Why do current clients buy from you, and what do you think uh, your differentiators are? Because I
Okay,
think that,
good.
yeah, it just I want to know, and then
Sure.
like just surprise me. What is it? And that's like, what are your competitors doing? How do you differentiate from
Mm.
your competitors? And
Have they
that's
done that research? Have they played secret shopper, for their competitors? I think is a fun way of describing it.
yes, and that is one that I will catch them off guard on. It's like, oh well, like this is what we do. It's like, okay, we don't have to instantly go from 30,000 feet down to 5 feet. Like, let's operate a little bit in the middle here, and just like, how do you compare to your customers? I mean, a lot of your end customers, the ones actually making the purchase, they're not always going to know the difference, because you know the end customer does not think about your product or your services or your offerings all the time. Unlike
Mm.
us, we think about them all the time.
Yes, we do.
We think about it all the time, but our end customers got lots of other things going on. They're thinking about their family, their current job. They're going to play golf today, whatever else, what other things are going on. So there's a lot on their minds. But going back to differentiators, how do you compare to the competition? So I like to do a competitive review. But if we're at a trade show, I was like, let's walk the floor. Like, think about your products and see what else other people have, and listen to them and just see what they have. So I think it's level setting on the competition and seeing how we kind of approach it. And then from there, it's okay, where do you see the potential gap and the potential need that is not what the competition is doing, but it's going to be where the client's needs are? And it's
Mm.
not what you think the needs are for the clients, but they are the needs of the clients, because we assume a lot on what the client actually needs. We actually got to have some concrete evidence. And I think that's where having a proper sales journey and CRM journey, you can actually make sure you have the right differentiators when you want to move an opportunity along.
Love it. Love it. All right. So then you're looking at, I love the way you just said that having the CRM and the pieces in place, because the last thing you want to do is take a whole sales journey that came out of your brain, right? And having it all written down with systems and processes so somebody else that can duplicate it, and then laying in the differentiators as to why your company is the best choice for your ideal client along the way, brings everybody into the circle. And then that communication consistently can go forward. So I love the way that you added that to your system that you built out for moving people along that buyer's journey. That's really valuable in there. It's another great
Absolutely.
reason.
Yes, no, absolutely. I wasn't thinking about it like that at the beginning, but the way you teed it up, I think it makes complete sense. But it's when people get leads in, you're going to get a lot of leads, but you need to be able to qualify those leads. And then you go from the qualification of the leads is, customers to say, yes, I'd love to get a proposal from you. I'd love to be able to buy from you. But they're probably saying the same thing to other entities.
Mm-hmm.
And the larger the opportunity, the more bidders that they're gonna be. And just being in large sales and even government sales, there's a lot of competition. So you got to be able to build the relationship, but making sure you differentiate yourself. So when that proposal gets in front of the customer, be like, yes, this is what I want. I know why they have a solution that differentiates themselves from everybody else.
Love it. Love it. All right. So this has been really actually helpful in figuring out some of the reasons that you want to differentiate yourself and some of the ways that you differentiate yourself from the customer's eyes, so that when they make that choice, They feel confident with the decision that they made because you've given them enough reason to choose you over the competition, choosing you over company B that looks exactly the same on the outside, right? I love that. And I think that's what we're missing in today's market, because you and I both know that through the internet and through ads and TV and everything, that radio and all these external forces that are hitting the consumer today,
Mhm.
we're getting ads like multiple ads every minute that desensitize the buyer. And if we can step out and wear our red shirt, whatever that is, right? Wear our red shirt and a bunch of shirts of blue shirts, then the buyer may perk up a little bit and listen a little bit more, so that when they're ready to make their decision, you're more familiar to them because you've done the right things and you've said the right things from their point of view. And I think that's the differentiation, and the why you that we're talking about here is, how do you stand out in the crowd?
No, absolutely, and you're right. I am completely bombarded with ads, uh, more ads, regardless of what social media platform I'm on. But you're absolutely right. It's, hey, I can do all these things for you, and this is what I could do. But it's also going down to the authenticity of getting to what the client really needs and
Absolutely.
tailored to what the client actually needs. But they want something, they're going to spend money, they want something that is tailored to them. And can you make sure you are positioned to answer those needs? So that's asking a lot of the right questions, understanding, going deep and understanding those needs. As long as it's not transactional sales, which is totally different ballgame.
Right. I got a widget. You're going to consume the widget. You're going to move on to it. You're going to buy
Right.
a second widget next week,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you keep going and going and going. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's all about building that the quality. We're going for quality, because with the quality, then you can actually start to go deeper and deeper and deeper with those accounts, and they really become a true partner. And you're really building to a trusted advisor status, which I always recommend for companies. Like, you have those differentiators, and then they want to work with you, and you can really start to build to a trusted advisor status.
Love that. And then price is no issue.
Exactly. Yeah, because you solve what they need, and then you can actually price effectively and be able to, price is not the issue.
Yeah, love it. All right, Whitney, this has been a great conversation. You've added so many unique ideas to the differentiator and how important it is to separate yourself so that the customer knows why they're choosing you over somebody else. So where can listeners find out more about you and your company?
They can find out more about me. You go to my website, cribworks.co, and you can find out the information under the services tab to find out more about me.
Okay, awesome. And do you have something that you share on that services tab?
Yes, I have it's called a sales accelerator that focuses on differentiators, but it also focuses on the importance of CRM and your sales journey. And I talk more about the individuals that should be a makeup of adding the components of going from a lead all the way to a proposal, and what differentiators you should be looking at. So that will be
Awesome.
all under the sales tab on my website.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. That sounds great. And I know that we can all use that kind of information to freshen up, researching your competition and finding out why you're different is an ongoing process, listeners. It's not something that you do once and then you park it away and then you think about it again, in a couple of years. It should be reviewed and analyzed. I'd like to think sometimes, I don't want to scare y'all, but quarterly, you should be looking at your competition and how your buyers' needs are changing frequently. And on the worst case scenario, twice a year, you should be reevaluating this. So looking back at your business and saying, what really differentiates us? Who Who are the new competitors in the market? What are our buyers needing and wanting from us that we can provide a service to? So if you can reevaluate this on a quarterly basis, you're going to be able to stay in front of your customer and be of value to them on in the time that they need it and not miss any of those great opportunities. So I would encourage you to go get Whitney's download and learn more about the differentiators and how you can separate yourself from the crowd. All right. I hope you've gotten a couple ideas, listeners, to help your business be more profitable, if I can get my mouth to work here. And I know Whitney's ideas will definitely do that for you. And as I mentioned before, how would you like to boost your net profitability 45% in just 30 days? Don't think it's possible? Of course it is, or I wouldn't offer it. Go check out my new training at the 30dayprofitbooster.com. This quick and easy profit boosting strategy can be done without spending more money on marketing, hiring additional staff, or working longer hours. Go get more information again at 30dayprofitbooster.com. And Whitney and I would love to hear your answers as to what makes you different. Go ahead and post those in the comments below, and we will respond to them and share them out. You never know, your customer might be listening to this podcast as well. And when you put your differentiator, you may make yourself aware to them. While you're at it, please subscribe. You don't want to miss future shows. And you can always catch Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. And we're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thanks so much, Whitney.
Thank you.